Me another story. I love doing this, and there's just never enough spaces in Marshall, so I'm so grateful for this performance space where we get to enjoy everybody's work so much. There are some things in life that are very strong, like the bond between a chocolate stain and a t-shirt, especially if it's your favorite t-shirt. There is few things in life as strong as the despair that I feel when I encounter evil people. There are a few things in life quite as strong as the determination of a toddler to do it myself. I do it myself. One of those things that's just as strong as that, though, is the bond between a parent and a child. But this is something that I have struggled with from time to time. It started with my first pregnancy, which ended in miscarriage, which led me to a very deep despair. But I was in grad school, so everybody thought I was just sad because of grad school, which was really nice for me because I didn't really want to talk about it. In my next pregnancy, I was really scared to connect in the way that I had in the same depth that I had with my first pregnancy. Because what happened if it ended the same way? I wasn't ready to do that. So I connected with that next pregnancy, but not in the same way as I had with my first. And then James was born. He was my first child. And I connected with him in some very deep ways. It was not what I expected, because he was in the NICU for a week. But then again, not very much of parenting is what I expected it would be. Shortly thereafter, and I mean shortly compared to when you usually tend to get pregnant again, James was about 16 months old when his twin siblings were born. He was 6 months old when I got pregnant. Surprise! I guess the breastfeeding thing did a little bit of the birth control thing. I'm not sure. We were very surprised when we were pregnant with twins. And because we were pregnant with twins and we lived in Marshall, it's not really a place where you have twins because there's no NICU there. So when I went into labor, Dancing to Womb There It Is with James, it's a very popular song, you gotta enjoy it. My water broke, and I got on the first helicopter I could over to Sioux Falls because that was where you have the babies. In Sioux Falls, when you have the babies, you get a massage, or a pedicure, or a manicure, and I thought, hell yeah, I'm gonna give birth over there. I get a helicopter ride, and I get a massage. That's incredible. Sign me up. So I do the whole pregnancy thing, I do the whole birth thing, and I felt more connected to them than I had with James's pregnancy, because with twins, they give you lots of ultrasounds. It's like every other week I had the goop roll over my belly with the ultrasound, seeing my babies. It was awesome. To the point that it was almost like, yeah, there they are again, yeah, here's the ultrasound picture, whatever, no big deal. So when they were born in this big theatrical room, because when you have twins, there's a higher likelihood that you're going to be a C-section or something. So gave birth with the whole thing, and it was a month early. So there was the two little baby things, and there was the doctor thing, and there was like the two teams of nurses things, and they're all like ready to go, and give birth to one of them, and I give birth to the other one, and I splashed water and blood all over the shoes of the surgeon, and he talks about the box full of socks that they have for me, for the doctors, because they always get crap all over their socks. So I give birth, and the twins are out, and it's glorious, and I'm like, that was so much work. So much more work than just having one baby. Not quite double the work, though, I'll say. It was a little more like a water slide, because it was the second time around, and they were a little smaller than my first baby. So that was kind of fun. But within a few minutes, there was something that was wrong. And I mean, we've done the NICU baby thing, so it wasn't unexpected. We're gonna have NICU babies, they were born a month early, it's gonna be fine. But the nurses came up to us and said, you know, Addie's head, one of my daughter, Addie's head is shaped a little funny. So we're gonna do an x-ray, it's nothing to be worried about, and we'll let you know kind of the next morning what's happening with it. Cool, I'm not worried about it, it's fine, babies' heads are weird. I've done the weird thing, I've done the NICU thing. Fast forward a couple days later, they ask us if they can do an MRI. Because the x-ray was a little inconclusive and they want to make sure that they know what they're looking at. little more concerned now. But hey, it's Sioux Falls. This is fantastic. This is a wonderful hospital to give birth in. In comes the neurosurgeon into our room. He says, I need to talk to you about something. Uh-oh. That's not going to be good. Cool. Hi, how are you? I'm Julie. What's wrong with my baby? He says, your daughter has something called craniosynostosis, which, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to give you just a teeny tiny little anatomy lesson. When a baby's head is born, there are 6 bones in the baby's head. 2 in the front, 2 in the side, 2 in the back. They're not fused together yet because it turns out a baby's head is slightly larger than what you want to push through your vaginal canal. Can I say vaginal canal here? Is that inappropriate? I said it twice now, so I hope it's fine.
I wrote it down though.
Perfect. Okay. All right. If I get one more, then I get turned in for some kind of a disciplinary measure. So these head bones are separate to be able to fit through the vaginal canal. Oh, no, I'm going to get in trouble. And typically they don't fuse together until a little ways along after the baby's been born. But for Addie, she'd been sitting underneath her brother's butt for so long that her face bones fused together and were now growing forward. So it gave the top of her head almost a triangular look. I said, well, that doesn't sound great. What does this mean? He says, well, for now, it means nothing. Some babies would never get this fixed, but those babies would be at risk for things like putting pressure on the brainstem. I said, what's the brainstem do? He's like, moderates the breathing, the heart rate, some of those kind of vital body functions. I said, well, let's get this scheduled that we can kind of get that taken. I feel like having a heartbeat is kind of a big deal. I'm a fan of her continuing to have that. He said, okay, yes, we'll get that scheduled, we'll get you set up with somebody, but we don't do that surgery here because we don't have any child neurosurgeons and child or pediatric plastic surgeons. And you need a team of both. But this hospital didn't have it, so we were going to have to go scouting. So we went up to children's hospitals and clinics in Minnesota and Minneapolis, and we met our team, and they said, the thing that we've seen work out the best is to wait until 6 months old, because then the baby's a little bit bigger, they can recover from surgery a little bit better. And skull surgery is something where you lose a lot of blood. I found out later you lose as much blood with skull surgery as you do with spine surgery and open heart surgery. So it's a fairly significant amount, I've been told. So 6 months later, it's Halloween, which I hate, because Halloween is my favorite holiday. I don't even like Christmas as much as I like Halloween, and I was gonna lose this first Halloween with my twin babies, the second Halloween with my next oldest baby, and my own Halloween. I was being a little selfish. Maybe there was some other things going on. But in this whole 6 months that was leading up to this was the year of medical interventions for my family. So we had the birth, obviously, that was a little traumatic with the whole flight over and everything. We had the NICU stay for those babies. A month later, Ben, told you about him earlier, Ben had an emergency appendectomy. That's a whole other story that he rightfully has some cranky memories with. A month after that, we had another small surgery that was planned that had some complications. And all along this time, Addie's twin brother, Ramey, had his own complications. bilirubin blankets, heart monitors, apnea monitors, oxygen, reflux meds. It was just a whole huge summer. And during that whole time, what I found was I was very busy, and I remember it in very hazy little sleepless nights. But I have a distinct memory of not connecting with Addie in the same way that I connected with her brothers. Because I was terrified to connect with Addie in the same way that I connected with her brothers. Here was this little infant who was going to have this major surgery with all this blood loss. And what if she died? What if I lost her like the first one? I was only 6 weeks along with that pregnancy when I lost that baby. And I was wrecked. I couldn't imagine this little nugget that I'd held in my arms and I'd fed and I moved from place to place and I took to the doctor and I had all these different things with, that what happened when she passed away, or if she passed away, or maybe she wouldn't pass away, or whatever it was. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was scared to connect with her. So I didn't, in the same way that I connected with my other kids. The day came. It was 5 a.m. when we left to get to Children's Hospital. I did have Halloween costumes along. Hers was going to be a mummy because her head would be all wrapped in bandages from the surgery. She never actually wore her costume, though. It was a little more stressful day than I anticipated. But Ben and I did dress up. So he dressed up as Totoro, and I dressed up as a Soot Sprite, if there's any Studio Ghibli friends in the audience. That was fun. So we sit through the surgery and we get an update. She did need a blood transfusion, just a small one. They were collecting and recycling her blood to give it back to her because there's fewer complications with that, but that she did need a small transfusion. Nothing to be too terribly scared about. I couldn't stand the thought of talking with people during the day because there's so many times when you're going through something really big and really scary and you have to spend all your time not dealing with your own things, but reassuring other people, no, Mom, it's gonna be fine. I know you're worried, but no, I'm sorry. This is a time when I'm going to be stressed out about my family. I'm gonna be just a little mite selfish about this today. But what I did is I tweeted out things that were happening. I would let people know through Twitter because that was gonna be an open way that anybody would have access to what was happening in real time. I felt an outpouring of love when I found out later that week that over 3,000 times my Twitter feed had been viewed by family, friends, and other people who were concerned. That made me feel really loved. We go through this surgery and it's an all-day thing. We're watching TV. It was going to be such a long surgery that we didn't have to wait out in the waiting room with the rest of the families. We had a private room just for us for those really scary surgeries. We sat in that room all day. About 9 hours later, the neurosurgeon came out and said, oh yeah, she did great. It was fine, nothing bad happened. During the surgery, they had to take off her scalp and then take off her bones and take out the diseased bone and then put them back on. Put on some dissolvable plates and screws and then put the scalp back on. She has this wonderful zigzag scar that goes from ear to ear. They used to do it straight scar ear to ear, but then people could see that in your hair, so they started doing zigzag. So other than me and Ben and maybe a few other people, nobody would even know if you didn't know looking at her. It was about 10 or 10 and a half hours before we actually got to see her again. And when I looked at her laying on that bed, she was in a hospital gown and she was wearing tubes all over the place. She had her head wrapped in bandages and she was so swollen she didn't look like herself. Truly, she would never look like the child I'd ever known again. This baby that I had known from this distance, you get to know every inch of their face. And it was a completely different child. It was one of the scariest nights of my life because I had to sit with her and I was laying on the bed trying to stay awake enough that I could hit the button to keep ahead of her pain because she was in so much pain. I mean, her skull had been recreated, I felt so guilty every time I fell asleep. But we got through that night and we got through another night. And 4 days later, her little eyes peeked open for the first time. And it was, I could see her again. And I could feel like I could connect with her again. Or really for the first time. She never looked the same as she had during those first 6 weeks, or 6 months rather. But I felt like finally she was safe enough that I could form this connection with her. This summer, I got to perform in a musical with her. She was in the Marshall Area Stage Company production of Mamma Mia. Somehow, I don't know how, but she has gotten the theatrical bug. So, as I was practicing to prepare for my role in Mamma Mia, she learned all the words to Dancing Queen and Mamma Mia and Waterloo, which is her current favorite song from that show. And I asked the director, I'm like, could she just come around and, maybe like be kind of near or on the stage for something? She said, absolutely, why don't we have her dance in Mamma Mia? That would be so much fun. And then, on the days she can do it, dance in the bows. So during that last performance, it's a Sunday afternoon, and the last kind of bows hurrah, I danced up on this little mini stage, and then I'd come into the forward part of the stage, and she's just supposed to kind of be in the audience dancing with or not in the audience, but kind of with the chorus members. And she said, well, Mom was up on that little mini stage. I want to go up on that little mini stage. So she runs up there, and she's not supposed to be up there, but she's dancing. She's a little 5-year-old kid just dancing up on this little mini stage. And I just felt so proud and so connected to that little girl in a way that I was so scared I'd never be able to. And I was so grateful that we all made that through that together.